and he'll start from position number 16, but Ryan Hansford will start from pole position. Adam Bressington alongside him, Cam Tilley and Adam Garwood on the second row. Johnson and Bow off row number 3 today. Policina and Mason out of row 4, and Dean Lilly and Andrew Fisher square off on that 5th row.
Matt, there'll be some drivers to watch charging through the field as well. Jeremy Gray feels like they've got their car handling well. Watch for Jason Gomersal too, a little bit further back, caught up in some incidents yesterday in the Matt Stone Racing Tirana. He'll be good to watch. That car's been quick all weekend.
So rolling start, as is the tradition in the Gulf Western Oils Touring Car Masters. 100 rounds in the making, and the final race is underway. Johnson already looking to make the moves down the inside. This is almost a replica of Friday's race, being tucked in behind Cam Tilley as they go side by side through the centre chicane. Harris Hansford gets the lead through the first set of turns and up Wakefield Street. Bressington going with him, and Adam Garwood in 3rd position on lap 1.
Smart driving from Stephen Johnson. Thought of looking down the inside, then flash back to what happened in race 1 when John Bow tried to do the same thing, locked the front brakes and took 3 cars out and was buried in the sand. So heads up driving. John Bow's just in behind. Policina with the red bonnet on his Tirana in the mix. He's been racing all weekend. Cameron Mason with the Brute livery now on the brand new Ford Mustang, that tribute to the great Alan Moffat.
How about the move for Marcus Sakanovic from 17th up to 11th already in the second XD Falcon. He was the first one to debut one of these model cars at Sandown a couple of years ago. It's a mega start for the Victorian. He squirms his way behind the back of Andrew Fisher, looking to make the pass down at the turn 9 hairpin as Policina side by side with Johnson. Mason off the circuit. It didn't take long, did it?
I had several sharp intake of breaths for that last 30 minutes there. Matt, there was a bit going on through turn 8. They're all squabbling for grip through that fast, high-speed corner, and then down the inside at turn 9. He's been very good there all weekend, Jim Policina, but you always just get the vibe that he's right on the very edge of getting the car stopped. Somehow managed to make it work. Bow down the inside there of Tilley. Pass done. Policina's going to follow him through. Nicely done. More overtaking. 1 lap down, 9 to go.
And the pacer just gets eaten alive on the main straight. He loses 3 spots in the process. He'll fight back. Cam Tilley's been on a charge, one of the most experienced guys in the category. As we start the second lap, Battlers on at the front. The first 3 put a massive margin on Bow, who runs in 4th spot now. Tilley looking to repay it on Policina, and Dean Lilly on the charge. And Marcus Sakanovic, who's now inside the top 10 after 1 lap. Mega drive.
Yeah, he had a big breakfast this morning by the looks of it. He's all fired up, good to go. A couple of espresso shots, I'm sure, knowing Marcus. As Dean Lilly, who won the trophy race early in the weekend, goes up the inside of the boss's car, who scrapes the barriers at turn 6. Well, this is what happens when you've got a whole field of racing cars who have got lots of horsepower, no aero, and not much tyre grip either. They slide around, they move around and produce tremendous racing like this. Sakanovic now up the inside and moves himself up to what will be 7th position. Cameron Tilley with a little bit of a breakaway, now in 6th, but he's had a busy opening couple of laps.
10 spots in a lap and a half for Marcus Sakanovic as Policina dropping back through the field here behind Peter Burnett.
Do you think he might have a problem? Was running 5th early on.
He's cruising.
Yeah, I suspect we might see that car in pit lane. It doesn't look like he's got much drive. The Mocom car, such a promising start to his weekend. Led some laps, was quick all the way through. Just saw Jared McLeod's car going through shot. He's working from the back. They've been battling some fuel pressure issues. The car's been leaning out. He's been worried about detonating the engine, so they've been very, very cautious. A total of 6.5 Ks turned by that car before it arrived here in Adelaide. So it is as new as a new car can be. Jim Policina has indeed gone to pit lane, and that will end what's been a really promising weekend for the Sydney-sider.
And it all started when I gave him a big rap yesterday in race number 2.
I passed on your address. I hope that's okay. Yep.
He steps up from the Pro-Am category last year, which he run, and he's racing with the big boys in the Pro Masters Series, the championship with inside the championship. As we climb the staircase, there's a bit of smoke again from the 50. This is a development weekend for Jared McLeod and his team.
He did say only limited laps this weekend with those engine and fueling issues they've been having, but he said the chassis balance is really good right out of the box, as we see the battle between the White Line Racing teammates now at Adam Garwood, the young Tasmanian, just gets up the inside of Adam Bressington. there'll be some smart driving required from Adam here, because he can drop a few spots and still have enough points to get the round victory. That has to be the ultimate goal in this race.
Replay of the start. Watch the XD Falcon, the blue car of Stephen Johnson. Thought about it for a moment. Will take the in-car shot in its debut voyage on the streets of Adelaide. Bit of wheel spin still at the start. Alongside Cam Tilley, thought, no, I'll back in behind here. The track has been cleaned and scrubbed since yesterday. Watch Cam Tilley just ahead. Oh, he got the curb. And lucky to keep the car on a straight line. That's a big curb to hit.
That's Cam Tilley. He can drive around that. He's always exciting to watch.
This was a bit later in the lap. This was Zakanovic seesawing away at the wheel.
That's what I was breathing in about while you were describing all of the other action going on. There was a few heart-in-mouth moments, as you always tend to do up there at turn 8. Jeremy Gray, Bilstein Capri, battling with some belts flying off that engine. Was there actually contact there, or did they manage to get away with one?
It was so close to taking the left front out of the Tirana. And this is the smoke billowing from underneath the number 50 of Jared McLeod here today.
Still running. So if it's terminal, he doesn't know it, because he's still going around. And this was that spot. Just a nice move. Really good run out of 8 for Adam Garwood down the inside of his White Line Racing teammate. And that's a nice pass and some good tackles there. Jared told me before the weekend he tuned the car like this. He said, mate, we've got a VC Commodore racing in TCM. We've got to have flames. It's mandatory to have a Commodore with flames.
Don't we miss it as well? That looks really cool.
I think they've just dialed a bit of extra fuel in now. They've been battling with it running too lean. It looks like they've dug all of the fuel in it for this race, and it's all just burning straight through the engine and out the exhaust pipe.
Jim Pollicina returns to the track, but just in time for the leading group to come on by. He'll tuck in behind Garwood and find himself back on the circuit. Let's go to pit lane with Andy Jones.
Yeah, just an update on the Jim Pollicina entry. So we did see him just come to the lane during that replay sequence. He reported that he thought he had a left front flat Hoosier. The team took that off. It's a traditional 5-star. Pattern took a while. Had a look under the corner. There was no sign of anything actually wrong. They put the same tyre back on and they've sent Jim. We'll see. Keep an eye on this and see what the update is.
Track has been quite dusty this weekend, hasn't it? So I wonder if perhaps some pickup, some material from the circuit has been picked up. So Bressington's got back in front of his teammate. Adam Garwood back to 3rd. He's got John Bowe breathing down his neck. So that does Bresso's hopes of a round win even more good. Hansford powering away out in front. Now, tell you what, Matt, the pace at the moment is very, very hot. And Bresso is going well. Hansford even quicker and right on lap record money at the moment.
So what if there was an incident at the top? Yes, here it was. So Garwood runs wide, allowing Bressington to go back into 2nd position. So the bumps at the top of Wakefield Street, unloading the 85 car, the White Line Racing entry. And now he's got John Bowe for company. As we're halfway home in the final race, the 100th round. Gulf Western Oils, Touring Car Masters, the season 2020.
28-0 for Hansford. It's only 10th and a half off the lap record John Bowe established earlier in the weekend. Right of screen is Jared McLeod, son of the 87 Bathurst champ Pete. You heard that he's running that tribute livery to his old man's 86 Touring Car Championship car. And whatever that smoke was, I think they've decided to not risk anything. It's very much a learning weekend. They're not worried about results. It's just getting some laps, getting some experience, and building up their performance as they go to round 2 at Sydney Motorsport Park at the end of March. So it's quite a quick turnaround.
Yeah.
I don't want to risk anything for that.
Pollicina back on the circuit, the Mocom McDonald's Tirana, after being in the pits for the better part of a lap. Bowe staying with Adam Garwood, the Tasmanian, heading down towards turn number 8. Hansford's leads out to nearly 5 seconds, while Johnson and Zakanovic, well, it's come to a bit of a standstill now, Zakanovic, after making, 10 spots in the first lap.
Well, it gets harder the further up the field you go, and the quality of car and driver increases. Really good drive, though. They'll be pleased with that. Really challenging season last year for the Zakanovics, the Action Racing clan based out of Melbourne suburbs. Just the development process of that car, I think it's taken a bit longer. They had some componentry that wasn't great. They had a really nasty vibration they couldn't find in that car all season long. They went to the point of running GoPros under the car, pointing at the suspension and the driveline just to see if they could spot anything that was causing the vibrations. They tracked it down, they got it right for Sandown. But when you lose that much time in trying to get the car set up right and all the performance variables these cars have got, you find yourself with one arm tied behind your back. So now they're starting to get some serious performance out of car 71, and I think we'll see that towards the front for a driver who actually won 2 national championships in the same year, won Commodore Cup title and a V8 Ute Racing Series title in the same year. It's not a thing you do that regularly, is it?
One of the toughest years of the V8 Utes back in the day as well. So now Bow really getting close to the back of Garwood here, while Johnson is about 4 seconds behind this group of cars. McLeod still in the pits. Leighton Barker sets his fastest lap of the race, but runs back in 15th position in the car that Aaron McGill drove. All kinds of sideways down the Kettleville Terrace last year. We'll split the screens up. You're in car with Johnson through turn number 8.
Oh, he's driving it quite hard, Steve, and he was pretty adamant that he was going to have a go this weekend. Said to me this morning that the car's not particularly good. They're still very much battling from a setup point of view, but this is also a brand new race car. They had some braking issues yesterday where some material was getting caught up between the brake rotor and the pad, and it was scoring the rotors quite significantly, and that was giving a very unpleasant feeling on the brake pedal. So they've gone to a different pad today, and they feel like this car is going to be a lot better for it. And the lap times telling a pretty good story. 1:29.4, the best for the triple and reigning champion in Touring Car Masters. And I think to be P5 on debut of this car is a very, very big effort from Team Johnson.
And why there's been so much hype with this car, what is the future for Mustang Sally?
Well, that's a very, very good question, and one to which I don't have an answer for, Matt. Usually I've got something for you. But
which I never asked now.
No, I know. Thank you for asking that without planning beforehand.
Is it up for sale? Is someone going to drive that this year?
Because good question. I'd love to see it on the racetrack, wouldn't it? It'd be terrific to see it. It's one of the most famous and the most successful car in the 14-year history of this category.
So just a final update, we have unravelled the reason why Jim Pollicina dropped down the field a fair bit. Contact with the tyre bundle early on in this race down at turn 1 on that left front. I did quiz the team once they'd sent him, spoke to the team manager there, and he told me, hey, look, I got underneath that car. It's bent the steering arm, but it's safe enough to continue. So Jim's just going to greet the flag at the end here. Unfortunate. Now here's a replay of that contact. He was tucked up behind John Bow. Was just not able to sight that tyre bundle, and you can see the deflection from the left front tyre. Copped a huge hit, and that was enough to do the damage. Lucky to keep it off the fence on the outside there.
It's funny because the car in front did the exact same thing a few years ago here, clouding that tyre bundle. I think it was in race 2, maybe 2017, for John Bow. He can drive the car home, and it wasn't fun to drive. Yeah,
exactly. It must be fairly perilous driving around this place with the steering wheel pointing in the wrong direction. And there's so much high-speed stuff in the concrete walls as well. Pressington just a bit of curb there, a bit too much curb, I think, at turn 2. Hopefully come up with a curb strike, so maybe he's okay. You won't want to do that too many times and put his round win at risk. He's got his teammate back behind him. It's taken a few laps for Garwood to get to the back of the 95. I spoke to Sharon Middleton from White Line Racing this morning, very well-known family in this part of the world. She and husband Bob have been in the sport for many, many years. She still drives trucks, long range, across the border to the west.
Loves it.
They're so passionate about this category, and Bow's gone through Garwood there. I wonder if he's got an intermittent problem in this car, because it's going really well, then it's slowing down, then it's going faster again. With 2 laps to go, you'd hope he can just bring this thing home.
The Bow sets sail for Bressington now. Split them apart, but Hansford shutting this race down. 1:28.0, fastest lap of the race. With just the whisker over a lap remaining in the final race of the Gulf Western Oils Touring Car Masters. Looking forward to a big season 2020. Cam Tilley now arguing with Marcus Sakanovic for 6th and 7th as they come out of turn number 9.
It's been a really promising weekend for Cameron Tilley. The Valiant Pacer badly damaged at Sandown at the end of last year. They finished it Monday night, pushed it onto the trailer, drove overnight from Sydney's Northern Beaches to get here, and the car has been a rocket ship since they unloaded it. The problem he said was we had to do the rebuild, so we weren't able to do any development work. So we've thrown this great big lump of a Chrysler V8 under the bonnet. We haven't done anything to the brakes since it's had a 6-cylinder in it. Oh, Andrew Fisher, turn 1.
Well, if Aaron McGill's not racing this year, someone has to step into it.
We need a mobile highlights replacement, don't we?
Man.
Oh, wow. Well, bit of suspension testing for the Jesus Racing team and the GTHO Falcon.
He'd be just relieved that he's had a better weekend here at Adelaide than he has in the past 3 seasons. As we're on the final lap, Hansford, 4.5 seconds, settled into a race rhythm and looking good for his second victory of the season after pole position here earlier in the weekend.
Oh, he's still in the race. Good to know.
Yeah.
He's out in front by
Found him.
4.5 seconds. Well, what a weekend this has been. Ended up in the gravel trap in race 1. 14th to 1st with a last lap pass for the lead yesterday and absolutely crushed them. Unfortunately, the low score in race 1 won't give him an opportunity to win the round. But from a race-winning perspective, this has been enormous for Multi-Spares Racing. Brett Peters, Rod Dawson and the team. Dominant performance. Is this a sign of things to come for this year for this very fast Queenslander?
To the cheer and the applause of the crowd, Ryan Hansford picking up the win in the final race of the Touring Car Masters. Bressington home for second, John Bow to third. Who really threw, oh no, and the pacer. It's had a big moment through turn 10 and 11. Judging by the rubber marks, he's had a spin. And has he found the wall in the process? Just when he was inside the top 10 as well. Check the replay. Did he get the curb on the inside? Was there assistance?
Oh.
Well, that battle been raging, and Sukanovic gets into him. Does get the wall. Notice how the wall moved, but there's not a mark on the car.
The pacer didn't, yeah. So wheel to wheel with Sukanovic through that awkward kink at turn 10. And you get through 29 of 30 laps of racing and you end up parked against a wall on the very last lap of the weekend. He will be gutted with that.
I've been so strong all weekend.
Series driver standards advisor Darryl McHugh, it was his birthday yesterday. I don't think he'll be partying so much now. He's going to have to go and have a look at that little bit of contact. They were squabbling over what was 6th and 7th position. But this guy, take nothing away from Ryan Hansford. Dominant this weekend. If it wasn't for a DNF in race 1, could have won the round. 2 race wins, though, is a very, very big benchmark to start the year with.
He's quietly spoken off the track, but man, he means business on it. Hansford the winner by 4 seconds to Bressington. Bow, Garwood in 4th, Johnson 5th, Sukanovic in 6th position from 17th. Back to Lilly, Fisher, Cam Mason and Jason Gomersall. Jeremy Gray home for 11th today ahead of Peter Burnett, Leo Tobin, Leighton Barker and Cameron Telly of the cars that finished on the lead lap here today in the final race of the Gulf Western Oils Touring Car Masters.
And much to his relief and that of his team, friends, family and supporters, Adam Bressington finally wins a round. 11 times on the podium without a round win. He's finally ticked the box this time by for White Line Racing.
And to do it in their hometown as well. Fantastic effort. Check out the highlights of the final race from ground level on the way down to the centre chicane. Hansford in the first 2 rows, in fact, joined door handle to door handle, didn't they?
Yeah, it was good stuff early on. They sorted themselves out. No lap 1 drama for the first time all weekend in Gulf Western Oil TCM, which was pleasing to see. Sukanovic on the move. Bunch of spots early. Jim Pollicina down the inside at 9, as always. Really impressive under brakes. Such a shame he had to dive into pit lane with what they suspected was a puncture on the Mocom Communications car. Johnson, full throttle on the side of the car and full throttle in practice as well. It was quick.
It's Pollicina whacking the tyre bundle in turn number 1. Just adding to a tough race. It promised so much at the start. He limped around to finish in 15th position, albeit nearly 3 laps down. The flames are back. Jared McLeod, the debut of the new VB Commodore, car number 50. It'll get better as the season goes on.
Yeah, we don't read too much into a debut performance in what is a very, very brand new car. Hansford, though, controlled this one from the outset, got the run into turn 1. Garwood was second, dropped it up at turn 4. I wonder if there wasn't just a little intermittent issue. And then this decent bit of drifting into turn 1. Some aerial antics over the curb at 2. A little bit of gravel, another curb, just to complete the set. The first sequence here on the Adelaide Parkland circuit. He lived to fight another day. Unfortunately for the valiant pacer, right at the very end, the final lap contact with Marcus Sukanovic. And after an enormous rebuild effort, that car ends up parked against the wall, and we just hope that the damage isn't too severe.
But Ryan Hansford picking up his second victory of the season. The round win going to Adam Bressington for the first time in the Gulf Western Oils Touring Car Masters. A great weekend here at the Superloop Adelaide 500. Some hard luck stories. We'll see the pacer out. Hardly a mark on it.
Oh, it's good.
They'll better bash that out for the next round coming up very, very soon.